Welcome to the milk bar. 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 Welcome to the milk bar.
Welcome along to episode 614 of The Milk Bar. Jason Forrest here with you as ever. And coming up on this week's show, we'll be hearing from three fantastic musical artists. We have Michael Armstrong letting us know about his brand new single, Matters of Heart, also having a chat about his forthcoming studio album as well. On top of that, we talk about the album Lifeline. RJ Thompson joining us to share news of a piece of work which was not only hit number 5 in the UK album chart, but also carries so much more alongside it than a normal music release. Chatting about that. John DeNicola joins us too. He, of course, won Oscars for his music from Dirty Dancing with I've Had the Time of My Life. Also the man behind Hungry Eyes. We'll be hearing about his brand new single and album release that's already out there and a future release too. Plus, on top of that, Sophie-Louise Johnson lets us know about her work raising funds for Lymphoma Action as she is doing a 10k run. We'll be talking to Will Dorrell of Who, Zoo and Dinosaur World. It's changed its name. You probably know it as Who Farm or Who Farm Animal Kingdom. It has got some brand new features for 2021 when it's able to reopen. We'll be telling you all about that. LGBT plus Sparkle will be along to let us know about their work, which has seen chair yoga return. We'll be letting you know how you can get involved in that one. Plus, Paul Pennington is along. He is celebrating the 21st anniversary of his Word on Health series, which is syndicated on radio stations across the world. Having a chat with him too about that. That's all on the way on the show this week. Sophie-Louise Johnson is currently raising funds for Lymphoma Action and has a very personal reason for doing so, and joins me now to tell me more about the fundraising efforts. Hello.
Hello, morning.
How are we doing?
Oh, I'm just a little bit knackered. I've just got back from my run.
Yes, because you are in training at the moment and you're doing some major running as part of your fundraising. So explain, first of all, what it is you're doing.
So I'm running a 10K, which, to be fair, doesn't sound like a lot to some people. However, when you get started and you realise it is quite a lot. I started Couch to 5K purely for fitness reasons earlier in the year, and I hit 5K actually a couple of weeks earlier than I thought I would, and actually enjoyed running a lot more than I ever thought I might. It's quite helpful because my dad runs a lot as well. He's a great runner. So I've been meeting him on a regular basis, kind of.
I know it's been handy. You're allowed to actually meet someone for outdoor exercise now, isn't it? So that's all good. So that's sort of boosted your morale when it comes to this. But Lymphoma Action are on the receiving end of funds for your 10k run, and this all ties in with an unfortunate diagnosis for your fiance. But fingers crossed, hopefully a good time to be able to get him through a difficult situation.
Yeah, absolutely. He found a lump in his neck earlier in the year. Probably only about 5 weeks ago. It seems like it's been ages. Just what we thought was a harmless lump. I've had lumps under my armpits. I'm sure everyone, a lot of people have been to doctors with lumps, and 9 times out of 10, you're packed on your way. It's a gland. You've got an infection. All those things. And I really pushed Luca to go when he got one on his neck, thinking he'll come back from the doctors and they'll just say, yeah, you've just got a swollen gland, it'll go down. And it kind of just went from there, really. And every time we went to a doctor or for a biopsy, we were like, every time we thought, we're going to get the news that it's all fine. Until, Monday the 8th March, we got the call to say, this is what we think it is. We're fairly certain. Obviously, then since then, more biopsies, PET scans, all those things have indicated, yes, it's Hodgkin's lymphoma. But I have to say, I know there's been some tears. There's been, probably a lot more from me. Luke has been incredible. But I have to say, obviously, the support we've had from the NHS is unbelievable. Everything's been dealt with so quickly. And we kind of were very quickly pushed towards Lymphoma Action for like a support network. There's a great group, as well as like their charity pages and their social media. There's a really great group called, I think it's the Lymphoma Action Support Group on Facebook, which I ended up joining as a partner, and just kept very quiet for a little bit, just kind of as things were unfolding, and just started reading. And I just thought, you know what, I'm running. We need some like a positive focus. So I thought, you know what, why not? I'm gonna do a 10K and I'm gonna raise some money.
Well, and doing a fantastic job of that. I mean, as it is, you popped up on our Facebook timeline because you were doing PR and appearing in Priscilla for West Bromwich Operatic Society 3 years ago, and so these little reminders come along of things that we've done in the past. And you're used to PR, you're used to plugging things, and you've got a fantastic circle of friends. And I mean, hopefully they're all going to be there to support you and Luca. Because a number of times I bumped into Luca and said hi at various different events, whether it's at the Grand or over at Sutton Coldfield. We've seen all sorts of stuff. So he's part of that big theatre family as well. So, everyone's got a massive amount of support for him. But the important thing is you both reacted in the right way, quickly, noticed something. And again, this is part of the message, isn't it? If you see something, if there's a change, check it out. And because you've checked it out, is it stage 2, I think, is at the moment?
Yeah, it's stage 2, which actually sounds quite scary because it's not stage 1, but actually when you obviously start to learn about all these things that you never think you're going to have to learn about, stage 2 just means that it's just spread slightly to the next lymph group. So it's quite lucky that he found his lump in his neck and it's only kind of just spread to the top of his chest. It's nowhere near organs. It's stage 2 early favourable, which he hasn't got any symptoms. Other symptoms are like night sweats, itching, fatigue. There's a few other things which he's had none of. So it's literally, if that lump had never come up, it could have been. Well, it could have been in a way.
Yeah, as it goes, I mean, for you, stage 2 was the earliest you could possibly have seen this, and you found it straight away. So, you've reacted correctly. The NHS, as ever, are brilliant, even throughout the whole pandemic. If people have been coming forward with cancer concerns, they've been dealing with it. And, this now is the time, if you have got to worry, do something about it and get yourself treated so you have the best possible prognosis. So things are looking good for Luca because of the early stage. It's still a journey, though, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah, it's still a journey. We've got a weird 12 kind of weeks is the time frame on it. We've pushed our wedding. We're supposed to be getting married next May in the sunshine in Spain, in Marbella, one of our favourite places. But I think literally the night we got the diagnosis, had a little tipple, as you do, and we said, let's get married. Let's just get married early. Stuff it.
I tell you what, you just renew the vows in May in Spain.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we just went, stuff it, come on. So we're actually getting married in August, which will be lovely. So I think we've got lots of positive. The prognosis is fantastic. Chemo, radio, should see the back of it. I just urge people, if they have got things that they haven't, go back for second opinions, push and push and push. If you may be worried about something, there's no harm. The NHS are amazing, but just keep pushing, keep getting things checked out, because 9 times out of 10 you are fine. Yeah,
and that's the thing, isn't it?
I think you'll be the one.
And if you are, you've got more to be scared of for not doing something about it than you should be scared of getting the news that it's something which is treatable. So. And
that's exactly the way Luca's been. You say that because Luca was more upset and worried before he got his diagnosis because of the unknown, and he was convinced. I'll tell you now, he knew it. So strange. He had a gut feeling, and all of us around him were like, no. And yeah, there you go. So it's kind of like he's already dealt with it. So I think that's why both of us are just like, yes, we've got this.
You're going to fix it. That's the thing. And through the support, whether you get through the Lymphoma Action and the work that you're doing for them to help them to support both yourselves and others, it is all good news. Now, you were looking to raise 300 quid. You've absolutely smashed that already. Let's keep it going. Give us the details on how we can all get together and put some cash into this one.
Yeah, so we've just hit this morning. I've literally just checked before we come on. £1,510. So I'm like, what? That's incredible. So I've done a page on GoFundMe. It's Sophie's 10K for lymphoma. I'm sure I'll send the link across and stuff like that. So if you go through GoFundMe onto your Facebook, my Facebook, it'll all be there. Yeah. And if you follow a few of the people in the theatre world, there's been a lot of shares of this and a lot of donations, so it's probably hard to miss.
Yeah, absolutely. You will find it. It's, basically through the love for Luca and the fact that you want to help those who have find themselves in a similar position. But equally, the message which comes out of this, and I know this is where you stand on it as well, is get yourself checked. You guys did, you saw it, you've got something done, and you've got the best possible outcome. So, you know, it's not all smooth running. It's going to be hard work, but you know, with the support and love that you've got around you, it's going to make it easy to get through this as best as it can be. But keep up the good work in the doing it. What's the date for your 10K?
Sunday the 25th of April. I'm not quite sure on the route yet. We tend to run over Cannock Chase, but trying to avoid hills. I can go down a hill, but I haven't quite mastered running up a hill with any good kind of stamina.
So you're looking for a car park at the top of a hill, and you can run down 10K and then get someone to drive the car down and pick you back up afterwards. That'll do the job. 10K is what counts. That's the important bit. Sophie, keep up the good work. Regards to you and to Luca, and pass on our love, and fingers crossed we're going to get a nice, quick, correct result for this one, and he'll be back to full speed before you know it. But thanks again. Thanks for doing what you're doing, and let's make sure we get a good amount of cash in as you get the support you need through this difficult time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Lifeline, the album from RJ Thompson, has been doing fantastic things in the charts. He joins me now to tell me a bit more about his work. Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good. I trust we find you well and quite busy just at the minute.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a crazy couple of weeks.
Absolutely. 2021, absolutely huge for you. And as an independent artist, hitting the charts at a top 5 position on the week of your album's release must make you very proud.
It does, yeah. I've been working at this for a long time. It's pretty much been me on my own the whole time doing it.
But the thing is that I've seen an awful lot of promotion for this. There's been a lot of people very excited about this release, and the album itself, it's more than just an album. From everything from the fact that it's clearly recorded for you to sit down and listen to as a whole musical piece of work, rather than just dropping in for tracks. Because most of these days, an album's released and the audience can't decide what their favourite is, and that becomes the one that's sort of a semi-single. You've taken a whole different approach to this and made an album which is an album to listen to. And we're harking back to the likes of the 60s when it comes down to having a musical piece of work which is a complete body. But on top of that, you've gone modern too, with the fact that you can even have an interactive artwork display with a cover. So I'm going to let you explain all of that and everything behind it, because I've just thrown a lot of stuff at you there.
Yeah, well, with the album itself, I was trying to write it. Well, obviously, when you start writing a record, you sit down and you might have a few songs come out pretty quickly. You get a gauge pretty early on for the direction the album's going to go in. Mm-hmm. And it was very clear from the early songs that I wrote that it had very strong themes of like childhood, growing up, and mental health running through it. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to make the final record go in a direction where it would almost feel like it was a movie. Almost feel like it was. So you've got a very clear kind of opening credits. Mm-hmm. You've got a very clear kind of story arc, and then it comes like, so the beginning of the record, the opening line of the record is the town was alive with spiraling lights. So it's harkening back to a time when I first met my wife, and you know, when maybe that'll be the 90s, the late 90s, when you know, maybe towns were a lot more vibrant than they are these days, with everything closed down and all that kind of stuff. And then the last track on the album, so you go through this whole story arc. The last track on the album, the opening line of that track is "There's a flicker of light down on Front Street." So it's meant to show the journey from when we first met to now. And then just kind of like she is the constant through it all, you know.
And with the music, the sound, and the love that's been crafted into this, I mean, with the vinyl release as well. I mean, that's quite exciting in itself, and the way in which it works as a concept on vinyl. Because I think this is one of those things that deserves to be listened to in that format. It kind of feels right. As
I say, because it was written in the way where it's like a movie. It's like the lifeline at the end is basically the end credits. I wanted the whole experience of owning it to be just a little bit more than because obviously it's difficult these days with streaming and YouTube, as you've already mentioned. Like people can get fixated on one song, and that's what they'll ever hear from a record. But because I was very passionate about getting people to sit down and listen to the whole thing, vinyl is as you say, is the only way to kind of really do that.
It's linear. It is like watching a film.
Yeah, and you've got the experience of opening it up. You've got the experience of having to put the record on, having to listen, having to turn it over. It's not, you can't skip so easily. But with the record sleeve, that was very much a case of that picture of me on the front cover. It's me when I was like 6 or something.
And were you thinking potential album cover when you had that photo taken?
Oh, what, when I was 6?
Yeah.
yeah. I knew straight away when I was 6 that this was going to be my breakthrough record. So no, I found that photo about a year and a half ago. I'd never seen it, and it's obviously got me and my brother in that photo, and it feels like a bit of a time capsule. I think looking at that photo, it's like very much, you can tell the era, you can tell the vibe, and you can almost feel the atmosphere. And
it's the fact the photo was taken on film as well, because it's not been it's been digitized for this, but it wasn't digital to begin with.
Well, exactly. And then I thought, well, how cool would it be as to add to the experience of the record to have that front cover change over time. So basically, I've got a little bit of a background in design as well, and I work with a couple of friends on this concept. So basically, the record, depending on the weather where you are, the record, like there's an app that comes along with the record, and it's going to be like the accompanying thing to all of my records moving forward. The app kind of makes the record evolve. So you've got the sleeve, and if it's raining where you are, if it's nighttime, if it's Halloween, it's whatever, the record sleeve will portray that. So if it's, it might be raining and nighttime, there might be crazy Halloween things going on the sleeve itself.
So it makes it much more of a movie, because you do get some pictures to run alongside the music. But often, I think radio allows better pictures in the mind, and I think that will be the case for listening to the tracks here as well. And so with the fluctuations in the way the music works and the expression that comes across as you head through the album, it must be difficult for you to say, hang on, this track's going to be a single, but do we have a single?
The single we're going with at the minute is Lifeline. I feel like it's got the biggest chorus, I think. Lifeline and Kids are probably the obvious of from the record. But I mean, I like a lot of the songs on the album, and because radio, it's a very different thing to what it was even 5 years ago. You can, there's probably room for more than just one single. You can probably go in there with a bunch of different tracks and see what sticks.
Dip in and share bits of the album, and really it's about sharing an experience, and that's what you're going for here. So what else can people get from listening to this? So is the kind of like a feedback you've talked about, the mental health concerns that run through, and not so much themes as a reflection on life, and it's sort of holding up a mirror to reality, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that because the record's so personal, there's a lot, like I was saying, it's childhood, mental health. I've had a few anxiety issues through the years, which kind of comes out in most of my writing, but particularly on this record, because it's so personal, and I was very aware of how personal it was, and I wanted to make it feel quite universal, because the themes are universal ultimately, even though they're very personal to me. In this instance, the themes are very universal. So dotted through the record, there's a lot of spoken word as well, a lot of people talking, chatting, and those people are actually people just from my fans and stuff, who I've sent questions to and asking them about mental health, asking them about their experiences, growing up, and they're dotted through the record to give this very universal feel to it. So an interaction with the people who listen to the music and your peers, an album which has been a journey to the point you are in your life now, but why haven't we heard
something from you until this point in your life? Has it sort of been building up, or is this the first time you've been able to get this project together in the way you wanted to?
Yeah, I mean, I've been involved in music for a long time, probably 15 years now, and it's only maybe in the last 5 or 6 where I've truly kind of felt a level of comfort, maybe a level of ability. To be honest, I think I spent a long time learning and honing the songwriting and gigging, and I spent a lot of time touring. Just kind of relatively small venues, but it was about 5 or 6 years ago I got some significantly good shows. So I got some support stars with Jules Holland, and we did the Albert Hall, and we did some big things. And then it was after that, once all of that happened, that's when I was like, right now, I've really got to kind of, because I'd written songs, as I say, and I'd released like EPs and singles and stuff, but never really sat down and written like proper body of work. So about 3 years ago, I released a record called Echo Chamber, which was my first attempt at that full body of work. Which I love that record. It's much mellower than this, I would say. It's very very much in the kind of it's very much of an era, I would say. It's very much of it's very 80s influenced, and it's kind of, I guess, kind of easy listening. But when I moved into making this album, it was very clear that the record that I released a few years ago was really cool, but a lot of it was stories about other people or stories about society. Well,
you weren't born till the mid-80s, so if you've got an 80s feel about it, then
yeah. But no, I think the idea with that record a few years back was, it's very much a commentary on society, a lot going on at that point in time. Politically and everything, so that was the vibe with that record. But with this record, it was very much a case of telling my story, and ultimately, I think that's resonated with people quite well, very well.
And well, certainly, yes, it's picked up well when it comes to all the exposure that you've had on social media, and I think that's sort of been a bit of a driving force. It's when you talked about, because people are starting to understand what's actually happening, the excitement about the whole concept on the album cover, and I that's something which we don't see regularly. This is the whole thing here is new and a great different idea. The fact that you've got, say, this cinematic feel to listening to it, and the resurgence of vinyl, I think you probably kind of had to wait for that to be where it is now to make this work.
Yeah, potentially. I think I've always been very interested in tech as well. So ultimately, I know the kind of kick I get out of, because I collect records. I've got a small record collection over here. And I know the kick I get out of owning bits that are really unique, concepts that are very, very special. And ultimately, I do view music. I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, I'm a songwriter, but I do view music as it doesn't have to just be the music. It's the entire experience that comes with the music. So yeah, it's taken a little while for the tech to catch up to the ideas.
Well, we are there now. It's brought Lifeline to life. It is available to buy on vinyl and in various other sort of ways and means you can get a hold of this. So give us all the details and where you are on socials, and also your website, please.
Sure. So on social media, it's RJ Thompson Music, across all of them. My website's rjthompson.com, and on there's the store, and there's the records on vinyl, there's CD, cassette, retro on that front.
I want a copy of mini disc. Can you sort that out for me?
I've had a few people ask for that. I don't think that's going to happen.
It's harder work, isn't it, these days, that one? But
I don't think that's quite caught up with vinyl.
It's not as big as it was, but it's worth a listen, whatever format you're taking it on. Make sure you get your hands on a copy of this. We're going to take a listen to Lifeline now, and we'll share a bit of the music that way. But for now, RJ Thompson, thank you for joining us.
Very much.
There's a flicker of a light down on Front Street, where the business was lost to the code. I brought you here tonight because I'm sinking, and you've always been my lifeboat. See, I'm no singer, and you're no singer, but we can hold a note. In the daylight, when I'm getting on with the game, and the late night, when I'm battling with my brain, girl, you could be my lifeline. Well, I could be your lifeline too. In the daylight, when I'm getting on with the game, and the late night, when I'm battling with my brain, girl, you could be my lifeline. Well, I could be your lifeline too. Well, I could be your lifeline too. My dad taught me how to tell a bad joke, and 3 chords that would get me on by. Well, he married his love when they were just out of school, and I held her eyes. Well, I drove here tonight to remind me, with 2 kids sleeping on the back seat, that I miss far too much, worrying constantly. Well, I need you to remind me in the daylight, when I'm getting on with the game, and the late night, when I'm battling with my brain, girl, you could be my lifeline. Well, I could be your lifeline too. In the daylight, when I'm getting on with the game, and the late night, when I'm battling with my brain, girl, you could be my lifeline. Well, I could be your lifeline too. 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 We're losing light, but you still bring me in focus. We're losing light, but you still bring me in focus. Bring me in focus. In the daylight, when I'm getting on with the game, in the late night, when I'm battling with my brain, girl, you could be my lifeline. Well, I could be your lifeline too. In the daylight, when I'm getting on with the game, in the late night, when I'm doing under my name, girl, you could be my lifeline. Well, I could be your lifeline too. 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 Well, I could be your lifeline.
There's been another name change. It was Who Farm. It has been Who Farm Zoo, etc. It's now Who Farm Zoo and Dinosaur World. That's the bit you need to remember. I don't know how he's bred the dinosaurs. We will find out now as we chat with Will Dorrell. Hello, sir.
Hi, Jason. How you doing?
I'm good. Is the world treating you well?
Yeah, not too bad. Well, I suppose as good as it can be in these strange times.
It is a weird time because you haven't been able to open for some time now, but we're not too far off seeing a return to outdoor activity, are we?
No, not too long. Hopefully, 12th of April, fingers crossed. So yeah, just over 2 weeks to go.
So the countdown is on, and you've been busy creating a dinosaur world, Jurassic World, in fact, whilst you've been away. So explain a bit more about this new addition to the park and how on earth you get the food for these things.
Well, yeah, it's I tell you what, that's a very long and difficult process. But it's been a project that's been ongoing now since 2019. So well before COVID was such a thing, and we were worrying about things like R numbers and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been ongoing for quite a while. But it's our 30th birthday this year, so we wanted something big to sort of celebrate our 30th birthday, and we thought, sort of, what better way to do it than with dinosaurs and the rebrand, which has been coming for a while, the Who Zoo rebrand. So that's certainly a very different place to what we started off as.
Absolutely, and it's sort of grown and continues in popularity, and it's loved by everybody who comes to visit. I've been to the site and had a wonderful time as we walked around. I must come back as soon as we can get there, and we can do a bit of filming on site, and it'd be great to do a programme from down there. But I mean, the zoo itself, animals from literally all over the world, but also the chance to see some things as well and think about them in a different way. You say it started off as Who Farm. You still have sheep down there and various other farm animals as part of that, and it's all part of understanding not only our food chain but also the diversity that we have both from UK and international creatures. Yeah,
exactly, and that's something we're very passionate about. We sort of strongly believe in conservation through education, and by having all the different types of animals that we've got down here. We've got about 100 species from all around the world, including some British ones like foxes and owls, but then also meerkats, lemurs, servals, all sorts of different varieties. And through sort of educational talks and just by having these animals for people to look at, we can help people gain an understanding and hopefully gain an interest in conservation of not just those species, but of our world in general.
Yeah, because we know the UK hedgehog is under threat, and that in itself is a concern because it was one of the animals that we just expect to see. Unfortunately, we see too many of them trying to run across the road at the wrong time. But it is having that thought about British wildlife, which is a great starting point, but then also that wider picture across the globe. Now, however, your dinosaurs are definitely extinct, aren't they? They are not some sort of weird recreation due to a laboratory experiment going just outside of Telford.
Well, we were thinking about that, but then there's a whole film franchise based around why that's a bad idea.
Yeah, it's the documentary's there. The show shouldn't be done.
That is exactly it, and we decided therefore that it was best to sort of leave that to the experts. So no, these ones are definitely, they're very, very, very lifelike, but no, they are definitely extinct. And we've got 15 animatronics in total. It's set throughout a sort of a woodland walk that takes place over about a couple of acres or so, and. It's we've been sort of very passionate about making sure that not just is it fun, but it is informative and educational as well. So as you travel through it, you travel through all the different ages, all through all the different time periods. And again, going back to that conservation ethos, it sort of helps people kind of understand and hopefully stop us going the way of the dinosaurs.
Absolutely. And as we're hearing that meteorite that's floating around up there is at least 100 years away, we should be fine, at least touch wood. So we won't necessarily go the same way as they did. But equally, it is all part of a great educational experience and a fun day out. And this is something which, the park itself, I say, it's just grown and grown, using more of the land that you've got down there. And when your parents started this, I bet they had no idea it was going to end up how you've got it today.
No, I don't think they did. And I'm still not sure that they entirely realise what they've let themselves in for yet. They are, we're obviously family run, as you said. So my parents still are sort of very involved in it, and my wife and I run it nowadays, and we've got 2 kids as well who don't realise the madness they've been born into yet. Hopefully it'll be around long enough to go down to a 3rd generation as well. But exactly as you said, when we first opened 30 years ago, we were called Who Farm Country Park, and then we just had a scattering of sheep, cows and pigs and a few horses, all that had come with my mum and dad from another farm where they were proper farmers, so to speak. And then when they moved here, circumstances changed that they had to sort of look at different ways of diversifying. And then, as time has gone on, it's sort of grown exponentially. And we became Who Farm Animal Kingdom. And then, sort of 30 odd years later, Who Zoo and Dinosaur World. So it's been, really big changes over the years.
And it gives so much more, again, diversity to the education offering you provide, but the interest you've got for kids there. And, again, school groups as well have now got so much more that they can do when they come down here. Because, during the week, you are often filled with coach parties from schools, aren't you?
Well, that's exactly it. Yeah, we're filled with coach parties in schools, and I mean, obviously, this last 12 months not so much. But before then, yeah, during the week, during term times, we've always been busy with schools, and again, yeah, like you said, it's been about diversifying the approach. I mean, on that front, totally unrelated. On that front, we've now got an actual primary school teacher who helps write up our educational packages, so we can be sure that the offering that we are offering to schools is of the highest quality as well. So it's about trying to cover all those bases and make sure that whatever reason you have for visiting, like you said, you have a fun time, but an educational time as well.
Yeah, and absolutely nothing else like this around the Wolverhampton area. So just half an hour up the road to Telford, you've got a fantastic facility. And so you've got the zoo side of it, and you've got the dinosaurs. So I can't think anyone else it offers that in the Midlands at all. You're heading quite a long way down south before you get something like that again. So certainly from our point of view, you are the closest and, I say, a fantastically run site. And does this mean you're going to be adding in some dinosaur-themed meals to your many food offerings as well now?
Well, you know what? It's funny actually, yeah, because our tea room has just literally yesterday been rebranded. We put the new signage up calling it the T-Rex Tea Room, and which I suppose was kind of inevitable, really, wasn't it? And,
knowing you, because clearly this has got to be born out of your love of dinosaurs as well.
Oh yeah, I mean this, yeah, massively. I'll be the first to admit I've never grown up from watching Jurassic Park as like a 3-year-old. I've then sort of just been obsessed all the way through, and yeah, even now I'm still. I think my wife is sick and tired of me talking about them because obviously, like I said, there's been projects been ongoing for nearly 18 months, so we've been sort of looking at different ideas, and I've been constantly sort of coming up to her thinking, what do you think of this dinosaur, that dinosaur and stuff. So yeah, I think she's sick and tired of hearing of it. Either that or she's just pleased for me to be doing something that gets me out of her hair. Yeah. One or the other.
When you're not looking after the meerkats, you'll be actually playing with dinosaurs.
Well, that's exactly it. So yeah, as you said, this is definitely a labour of love. This all of it is, but this particular project. And the great thing is obviously our kids have already had like a sneak preview, and they love dinosaurs as well. So it's been something really nice that we can sort of share with them. This whole sort of building process, particularly.
Yeah, and you say the park's 30 years old. I'm now trying to work out whether you or the park are older. I can't remember.
I am by about 6 weeks. So my parents had a very, very busy 1991. So yeah, it was definitely they definitely would have been a bit mad then. But yeah, I am for about 6 weeks.
So the park itself celebrates, and you'll be celebrating a big birthday this year as well. I'm sure that you're now going to have a dinosaur-themed birthday party, and that'll be jolly good fun. Give us all the details of where we find Who Farm. Sorry, no, try that again. Getting this in my head is going to be difficult. Where we find Who Zoo and Dinosaur World. There we go, I got it.
Yeah, you got it right. Yeah, so Who Zoo and Dinosaur World, we're located the Newport side of Telford. So from Wolverhampton, the easiest way is down the M54, follow our signpost from Junction 6. Alternatively, just down the A5, and you'll pick our signposts up down there as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, with the Newport side of Telford, advanced booking is essential. Obviously, we've got all COVID safe policies in place. So one of those is that you have to book in advance. So you can just do that through our website, which is still www.whofarm.com. So yeah, we haven't yet changed the website over, so just jump onto the old website in the meantime.
There'll be an additional one to come, I'm sure, with plenty of dinosaurs. Another labour of love knowing you as well. As you put that together, it'll be a weird interactive experience again, I guess. But have a great time down there. I will be down to see you as soon as things kind of settle down, and we've passed all the dates. Are you taking bookings now for the 12th of April onwards?
We are, for the 12th of April onwards. Yeah, we're taking bookings. Obviously, just bear in mind that for the first month or so, our indoor areas will be closed because we can't have them open. But yeah, hopefully once the roadmap gets a bit further, we'll be up and running fully and properly. But yeah, we are now taking bookings from the 12th of April. And
are you able to do takeaway food to sit on the park benches around the area?
That's right, we are. We're able to do takeaway food. At the moment, we're still waiting to hear whether we can have outside seating, because last year it was a funny one. We had to direct people to our seating on our car park because it wasn't technically on site. Don't ask. But yes, we will be doing takeaway food regardless.
But the thing is, this shows you are absolutely following the guidelines. You're keeping people safe, and I know you take all of this seriously, because not only have you got the people to look after, you've got the animals to take care of too. So you're kind of used to it, aren't you?
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, it's been a point we've been sort of saying all along, is that Who Zoo zoos and farm parks in this current pandemic are probably one of the safest places. I know you hear every industry say that, but we've been, we've spent the last 30 years having to have hand washing facilities in place, having to ensure that people wash their hands, follow very strict guidelines, which are very, very similar to the COVID guidelines because of things like E. coli and salmonella and stuff like that. So we're sort of very used to it. So seeing these new guidelines come out is stuff that we're kind of already doing, we were already doing beforehand. So it's something, like you said, that we're sort of very passionate about.
Absolutely. Well, Will Dorrell of Who Zoo and Dinosaur World, thank you for joining us.
Thanks very much, Jason.
The latest single from Michael Armstrong, Matters of Heart, is available now. He joins me to tell me more about it. Hello, sir.
Hello, Jason. How you doing, mate?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Very good indeed.
And soon to be excited about the release of the single. I have my promo copy in front of me now. And amazing stuff. Absolutely love it. I've given it a spin on the radio before. I was actually, as soon as I could, the day it arrived, I played it on the wireless because it is so good. So absolutely has to be done. We'll be taking a look at the video as well in a minute or two's time. But tell us more about the latest of your work, because you've been busy grafting away again, haven't you?
Yeah. There's a new album coming out on the 25th of June. The album is called Oh Hi, even though it's actually spelled O-J-A-I.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I was looking at it here thinking, third studio album, meh. So Oh Hi is what we need to know. Okay. Yeah,
it goes against every single rule of marketing. If it was a record company, record label, they'd be telling me off. But what the hell, I can do what I like now. So Oh Hi comes out on the 25th of June, and it's available to pre-order now. And if you do, you instantly receive free of charge the new single Matters of Heart, and which we're going to see a bit of in a moment. Matters of Heart is it's a song that I wrote for my parents, really. Mm-hmm. They were, the song's about, it could be about any couple. It's about a couple starting out their life together as young kids, getting married, having kids of their own, and just going through their future. And my parents are still married after 50 odd years. They're in their 70s. They're both children of the baby boomer period, born in the late 40s, mm-hmm. and working class. Dad come from Mitcham, South London. And they built a fantastic life for themselves. My brother and I had a great upbringing, and my dad built a very successful company. And they've always been there for me. They still are, still help me out when I need them. And they've taught me an awful lot about being a man, being a husband, being a father. And I'm a songwriter, so what could I do? I wrote them a song.
Absolutely, and an amazing one it is too. I've loved the first two albums. I know it's your music's well received in the industry, and we're just waiting to see it hit the charts so the top end of the charts, rather than getting the word through. And I think once people start to know your music, they will be back for more. And you've had success. I know your single's been played on radio too. They are also behind your music, and I want to know why we haven't seen you on whatever the equivalent of Top of the Pops is these days. I suppose it's kind of YouTube in some ways, but there's got to be the time when you are that breakthrough artist that everybody's listening to, rather than a very well musically educated select 1,000 or two at the moment.
That would be nice. Difficult question to answer, when you put to me. I mean, in terms of the musical equivalent, I guess the only musical equivalent of Top of the Pops is Jules Holland's Later, isn't it?
And you would fit so well on there. This single should be on Jules Holland's Later.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be good to do. I think they're obviously doing strange programs at the moment because of the lockdown situation. But trying to think, looking back at older programs, I think. But there is a new series coming, so we'll certainly be trying that. I mean, this single in particular, I've been really pleasantly surprised by the reaction I've got. You never know what sort of reaction you're going to get, and for someone like you to say you put it on the radio the straight away, and like you said, Radio 2 have played it, and I've actually had messages from abroad. I know that station in Australia are playing it on rotation, and in Holland and in France. So it seems to have got its tentacles out there, and it seems to be happening organically, rather than being forced.
Yeah, but I think music, though, these days has changed in as much as the charts aren't exactly the be-all and end-all of music success, though, now, are they? Whereas in the past, if you hadn't had a top 10 hit, you weren't a band that people knew. These days, an artist it will be well-known on Spotify, get tens of thousands of plays, and still be one of the best-kept secrets. But there are a load of people loving the music.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, if you look at the charts, if you're talking about the single charts in particular, that's for kids, you know, that's your Capital Radio, kind of Kiss FM, you know, that in the UK. But you look at the album charts and you're still seeing the likes of Fleetwood Mac and Bob Dylan and people like that in there, which is clearly not the kids, you know. So yeah, I think there's a lot of artists, like you say, out there who are being really successful, but not necessarily appearing on the major radio stations and on the major TV shows. Yeah,
and I say we'd like to see more of that, I think. And again, that's that you mentioned Jules already, but Jules Holland is a champion of music in all its forms, and he will bring to the stage music and musicians like yourself who really deserve that platform to be seen. And it may still not lead to huge chart success, but that doesn't necessarily matter as long as people are enjoying your music. And so the way in which people access music has changed so much. It is sort of both easier and harder to tell who's listening in many ways, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I mean, it's the way the music is now received. It's very difficult to make a living as a songwriter or as a recording artist. I mean, like you were saying, there was a time when, you know, you break into the top 10 and you'd have to sell 1 million copies to do that or to get to number one. So you could be a one-hit wonder, excuse me, and make a good living. If you sold 1 million copies and you wrote that song and you had a half-decent contract, you'd be set up for life. Now you only need to sell a few thousand to get to number one, and most of it comes through streams, and you can get 100,000 streams and end up with 60 quid, you know. So it's not, you know, whereas before those 100,000 people would have had to go out and buy the album on vinyl for £10 like I used to, you know. So that makes a huge difference between 60 quid and 600,000, you know. So from that respect, it's very difficult to make a living as a songwriter these days. So I mean, even the big artists, I think it's 5% of their revenue actually comes from recorded music now. So you know, their revenue comes from live work and from sponsorship, merchandise and the like. So for the lower end, people like me and others like me, you have to do it out of a love for music. I mean, I've always done it out of a love for music and a love for what I do. So, you know, it'll be nice to be able to, you know, I'm lucky enough these days I sell enough albums to cover the cost of making them. So that's cool.
That's the important thing. And before you know it, we'll have Michael Armstrong tea towels and you'll be quids in.
My wife's already got one of them.
That's okay. And the Michael Armstrong dishwasher as well, but there we are. So obviously the music's sounding fantastic. We're expecting even more from you when the third studio album, Oh Hi, not too far away. Pre-order it now to get the single Matters of Heart. So give us all the details for your website, the socials, and how we find you on the streaming platforms, etc.
Yeah, the best place is michaelarmstrongmusic.co.uk. And all the socials are some form of that as well. Michael Armstrong Music, yeah.
Simply as searching for it. We'll take a listen to the track now. Michael, thank you again, not only for joining us, but also for a fantastic song, and to your mum and dad as well. I think pass on our appreciation to them for both bringing you into the world and creating the mood and movement that brought us this tune. But great to speak to you as ever, and I look forward to a chat when the album's released a bit later this year.
Thank you, mate.
Innocent but keen to wisen up to all that life would have in store. We opened the door and I laid me bare. a chain. Fortune came, and I laid me bare. It'll always be forever, and together this endeavor, 'cause we fought our way from nothing at the start, and we could have done things better, but we managed it whatever, 'cause the only thing that matters is the heart. I decline no invitation, got ideas above my station. I'm afraid of growing up and old. The truth's never told. I lay me bare. It'll always be forever, and together this endeavor, 'cause we fought our way from nothing at the start, and we could have done it better, but we managed it whatever, 'cause the only thing that matters is the heart. It'll always be forever, and together this endeavor, 'cause we fought our way from nothing at the start, and we could have done things better, but we managed it whatever, 'cause the only thing that matters is the heart.
Pennington series Word on Health hits its 21st birthday this year. I'm sure there's a feature to be had just about that in itself. He joins me now for a bit of a natter. Hello, sir.
Hello.
How you doing?
Very well, thank you, Jason.
Good stuff. Now, Word on Health is something that's been born out of your ongoing broadcasting career. It's a service which you offer to radio stations not only across the UK but across the world, and gives a little snapshot on various health conditions. And just having that conversation might trigger somebody to think, hang on, they're talking about me here. And you must have actually been instrumental in loads of people getting a diagnosis, which has helped to turn their life around. That in itself must make you proud of what you do.
It's really humbling, actually, Jason, and thank you for saying it. I've had a few emails over the years from people saying, I heard you on the radio and my mum went to the doctors and we've discovered, and, you know, it just gives you that sense on the back of your arms, you know, that the hairs come up and you just think, wow. It's something I do free of charge. That's something I should add to what you've already said. And I don't ever ask any money for it. I just see a lot of work done by charity that doesn't find itself onto radio or TV. And thanks to you guys, it does increasingly these days. And that's the beauty of community radio, is that it reaches and supports organizations like the charities that I talk to on a weekly basis. So to working in partnership together, we are making a difference. And as I say, it does really sort of humble me to know that we are reaching people and we are making a difference.
Well, over the 21 years or so, which is it this November you mark that?
Yeah, this September to November, it's 21 years, every week of the year sending out a feature. We've not missed 1 week yet. It's looking back, you can see some seismic changes. The most welcome change, I think, is in mental health. Mm-hmm. People's attitudes far more progressive than they were 21 years ago, accepting dialogues and people talking about their mental health and realizing it's as important as their physical health. And it's great that we're seeing more people engage in healthcare services now. I mean, we're having to a certain extent, but self-care is now up people's agenda. So I'm hoping that on the other side of the vaccination program and life returning to some sort of normality after COVID, that we can all see a better improvement all round in the nation's health, really. Absolutely.
And it's sort of been a wake-up call to think about how we do, how we feel, what we do, because of the concerns that the likes of COVID have had on those with either weaker immune systems or who've already got underlying conditions. And I know that you have had COVID, and that really knocked you about. And it's you still kept doing reports throughout. I don't know how you do it, but you did. And I know that hasn't been easy, and so I mean, you're talking from experience when you're talking about some of the healthcare issues here, because it's some of these things you've experienced yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm now what's known as a long COVID sufferer, so I've got emphysema now. So my life has been cut short at some point by COVID-19, and it comes to us all eventually, hopefully later rather than sooner. But it is one of those things, and it is what it is. I've got what I've got, and I'll carry on living with it. There are positives, though, that have come out of COVID. Look at the amount of deaths that have been cut from flu. Look at the cut down on spread and intestinal winter vomiting bugs. The fact that we're all being a little bit more considerate to one another, that makes a big difference. I mean, I know it's been tricky during lockdown, but the brilliance of the British people to rise resiliently to the challenge and ensure that we can move forward is amazing, really. I mean, yes, you see in the media pockets of people who don't quite believe and don't follow the rules, etc. But for the large part, most people do, and I couldn't be prouder to be British because of that. And it's fantastic to be able to see that life can return on the other side of vaccination. But for a good few years yet, we're going to have to be very, very careful with regard to distancing, with regard to hand washing, which won't be a bad thing, and to be considerate towards one another. In the past, it was a badge of righteousness to go into work when we were ill. These days, we've got to stay at home when we're ill. And if that's a message that we can take forward and people aren't taking communicable disease into the workplace and spread it amongst people, well, that's got to be a good thing. But long COVID has got me, and you just got to get on with it, right? Like many people do. There are lots of people living with long-term conditions in the UK. They get on with it, so will I.
And when it comes down to the sort of conditions you talk about on Word on Health, I mean, very often you will cover something which is quite rare, and that's even more important sometimes in giving advice on some of the general day-to-day things. Again, we're talking about people finding out that their symptoms might match something else. Their doctor may not have known what to make of them because they haven't got all the other factors in their life. You know it yourself. You get some clues from something like Word on Health, and actually you can then, as we say, get a diagnosis which is more meaningful. And talking to your GP after a Word on Health report, we're not trying to turn anyone into hypochondriacs here. That isn't the way it works. But if you've got something, it could again be a trigger. And the rarer diseases are sometimes the ones that it's harder to get the information together on. So again, fair play for doing that.
The difficulty with living with a rare disease is the fact that you feel very isolated because nobody understands what you're going through. We have an understanding of diabetes. We have an understanding now, thankfully, of mental health. But when you've got something like pulmonary hypertension or PSP or one of these rarer, thankfully rarer diseases, some of which are terminal, you're on your own, and many people don't understand. So to hear the condition mentioned on air, to share information on something so people are more aware, it makes that individual feel, we hope, a little less isolated, and you know, to connect that person, to say, look, there is help out there and other people like you, and to know you're not an island kind of thing, and connect with other people. Perhaps, you know, through this group that we're talking to on air, you might be able to find some solace, you might be able to find other people in your position, and, you know, move your life forward in a meaningful way that way. So yeah, I mean, I think it's difficult with traditional radio. They always sort of go towards the big hitters, i.e. the diabetes, the heart disease, the cancers. You don't hear of fibromyalgia or osteoporosis or PSP or PH or asthma. So, you know, when we started making this, it was all about trying to give everybody the opportunity for some awareness, no matter how big or small the disease area was. And, you know, so far, so good.
Yeah, and say with 21 years and 52 reports a year, there's an awful lot of subjects you have covered, and there'll be many more to come. And the other good thing is, not only can you hear it on air on 101.8 WCIFM, but there is backup as well through your website, where you can re-listen to the report, as well as, of course, on our Listen Again feature. But also, you can actually get more information and find those links quite simply. And it's through the your website, again, that you can get more of a message across.
Yeah, I mean, www.wordonhealth.com supports every feature. Plus, as well, you can link through, get yourself onto the organ donor register. You can find a blood donation service local to you. Only 4% of the population give blood, so give us an armful. We need our multicultural society to step forward. You can find out about local health services and catch up on the latest health news as well. So it's a spot to support everything, all your health needs.
Well, so we very much appreciate your weekly reports. The difference 3 to 5 minutes make just talking about a subject can be huge on somebody's life. And, you know, I applaud you again for all the work that you've done there. Continue what you're doing. I'm hoping we're going to see some amazing features, as you already mentioned, September through November. Fingers crossed. You've got plans afoot to really mark the 21st anniversary of Word on Health in the right way, and again, helping more people across our community to get the health care that they need, or at least have an understanding of somebody else's health problems, which allows you to be appreciative of what they may be going through. Paul, give us that web address one more time, where we can find all of the backup to the reports, and of course the socials too, so we can see what's happening there.
It's www.wordonhealth.com.
Simple as that. Paul Pennington of Word on Health, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jason.
Singer-songwriter John DeNicola is producing some fantastic work at the moment. He is an Oscar winner. You will know his work. He joins me now to tell me more. Hello, sir.
Hey, how are you, Jason?
I'm very well. Is everything treating you well?
Everything is going really nicely today. We got a little bit of spring starting, so that's nice.
That does help. We like the good weather. We like when it works out well. But when it comes to the music, you certainly put a spring in everybody's step with what you're producing. We all know the song, I've Had the Time of My Life, Oscar-winning work. And I mean, how do you follow that? I mean, that is already a tricky one. It was a few years back now. The career continues. More people book you to do things. You produce your own stuff. But give us the potted history for the last, 30 years?
Yeah, at least. Well, how do you top that? You don't. You can't, and maybe you don't want to. I'm thankful that it's continues to matter at all. Actually, this many years later. You know, it's been quite a wild ride between that and Hungry Eyes, from the movie Dirty Dancing. We've been, you know, we still get requests. I would say, you know, daily we get a request for one or the other song. In fact, McDonald's in UK is talking to us with Hungry Eyes. Mm-hmm. Time of My Life, it's constant with movies and TV shows. And so, you know, it's been wonderful. It's enabled me to continue to songwrite with artists, and it's enabled me to have my own record label and work with artists that I like. So that's been great. And then recently, it also enabled me to have this recording studio in my barn, upstate New York. I have one in the city also, but and that has brought me to starting after all these years to make my own music for me or with me as an artist, which is new for me. Happened in the last year or so.
I mean, a lot of people, we have so many songwriters behind so many of the big hits. It's often not the artist who's involved who has actually produced the music themselves. They are the sound that works. And certainly with Eric Carmen, we know his version of Hungry Eyes, but you have one that you've charted with yourself.
Yes, I have. We charted in Billboard number 21 or 20 a few months ago. You know, in doing my first record as an artist, after all these years in the business and getting in other people's heads and writing for other people, we charted with that song. We decided to do. I spoke to my son, who's a drummer. He's also a filmmaker, and I said, "Well, how am I going to do Hungry Eyes on my record? It's almost crazy to try, and even crazier with the time of my life." And he said, "Well, you know, there's a lot of modern indie rock bands who are kind of drawing, you know, in a modern way, drawing on 80s synth pop, which is what Hungry Eyes sort of was." So I took his cue, and actually he plays drums on it for me. And I sort of imagined, you know, indie rock band, how they'd approach with, you know, synths and stuff, and I came up with a new bass line, and you know, it seems to you know, it did well in the U.S. on the Billboard charts and adult contemporary, and I feel lucky.
Well, if anybody's allowed to tweak that song, it is certainly you. And you know, it must be quite strange, though, which you get the requests through for these songs continuously to appear and stuff. Obviously, the musical stage version of Dirty Dancing doing the rounds as well, and hopefully continue to contribute quite nicely to that bit of equipment just behind your left shoulder. You know, it's that sort of thing that, you know, if you get one amazing classic song like that, you've potentially got a retirement fund. You get two, you've got a retirement fund in two places potentially. And your new single is one that people will recognize as well, with People Make the World Go Round.
Yes, well, I mean, it's an old song from the 70s. People Make the World Go Round. It was done by the Stylistics in the 70s, and I don't know, it just struck me when I was doing my record. I did 9 original songs, mostly songs that I had written for other people like John Waite. I wrote a song with John and Keith Reed from Procol Harum called In God's Shadow. So there were a lot of songs that were already either never covered, songs that I had written that were never covered or covered by somebody. And then there was 2 covers. And one was a Moby Grape song. A good friend of mine, Peter Lewis, is from Moby Grape. And I can't tell you why I did People Make the World Go Round. I think it was an early influence on me. I did a lot of time in clubs and bars playing sort of Philly soul R&B music, and I don't know, it just felt good. I started doing it. I don't know how the germ came in my head, but the track is such a beautiful track originally. And I had so much fun sort of recreating that myself. And I think one of the reasons I for some reason, I find it easier to sing in a falsetto. And I'm no Russell Thompson, but you know, I thought I'd try it, and people reacted well to it, so we put it out.
So when you say you spent 12 months really coming to create music yourself in your own name rather than putting words into other people's mouths, are you there thinking of writing songs for you, about you, that tell your story, or are you still quite happy with the songs that are telling a story that you can sing along with?
My newest record, the Why Because, it has Hungry Eyes and People Make the World Go Round on it. And I am now working on a new record, which is all brand new songs, nothing from the past. The Why Because, as I explained, was sort of songs from the past that I adapted for me and found my voice on, and realized my voice made them sound different. But the new record is specifically written for me, for the first time. So the next record is going to be kind of unique, and people's response. I haven't finished mixing it, but people's responses have been really, really good.
I suppose as well, to get your name out there, because we may see it in brackets on the bottom of a 7-inch vinyl or whatever it was back in the day. These days, it's somewhere in the notes on iTunes or Spotify or somewhere similar. So it is getting that name to the fore. And again, that must be an interesting one, with someone with so much music industry experience, kind of having to sell yourself for the first time.
Well, that's not a ton of fun, because that's not really me. But in a way, there's no burden on me to in a way, I'm just putting the music out there and hoping people pick up on it. It's been immensely satisfying, both the last record and the new record, to no longer put on the hat of getting in someone else's head what they would want to sing, and now what I would want to sing. And so it's if nobody buys it or hears it, that's disappointing, but I still am fulfilled putting the music out, because it just, from an early age, I started at 6 or 7 years old, and always knew music was what I wanted. So when you're a songwriter, artist, whatever you want to call it, it's a feeling you have to have. I come in here and I'll start a song, and it's nothing until it's something, and I finish it, and the feeling I get from finishing it and it coming back to me, and I go, wow, I like that. There's nothing like it. Very satisfying.
Well, certainly I will be playing some of your work as soon as you bring that second album out in your own right. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to the getting the story behind the man who tells the stories as well. And I think that is something which we don't normally get the opportunity to do. Somebody like yourself is writing for films. We very rarely hear what they have to say, and the only time that happens is normally somebody's written a Bond film, so sort of soundtrack, and that way we know who they are. But so many times the real skill is pretty much unknown, and that must be a strange side of the industry to work in. You're not really up there with your name in lights touring normally.
Yeah, the songwriter, the pure songwriter that's not an artist, is neglected. Really. No one knows who they are. They don't get paid as well as everybody else. In the Spotify, Apple Music age, it's almost for nothing. I mean, you get 1/1000th of a penny per stream. So I often get about 13 million streams per quarter. That's every 3 months. That's a lot of streams. 13 million streams. I could never live off of that. It's like $300 or $400 maybe. I mean, it's ludicrous. And Spotify and the record labels, they're making the money. The songwriter, and I always, whenever somebody's asking or interviewing me, I always try to say, if you support an artist, if there's somebody you like that you think is your favorite band, buy the CD, buy the LP. Go online and download it at Bandcamp and pay them, or iTunes, because when you buy it, then the artist songwriter actually will see some something that they can call a living. When you just stream it, it's I don't know how long it can last, because there's no way songwriters will keep writing songs in the future, because they can't get paid.
Yeah,
you know?
and so if you're a touring band, you have the fact that you're touring to get off the back of it. When you're a songwriter whom that is your craft, and you're allowing others to sing, it just not there.
You can't get it. Terrestrial radio still pays the songwriter well, but the streaming services do not, and it's a sin, really. And I was just seeing on Facebook today a couple of there's a little bit of a wave, a little momentum of people's songwriters who have power speaking out and demanding a change in this. And so I haven't given up hope that, you know, if streaming continues to be the main form of people's listening, then, you know, that someday something will change and songwriters will actually get paid.
Yeah, the proper rate for what they're doing, and can afford
exactly.
to eat and keep buying the equipment that allows them to be able to be songwriters, which without that, you've got nothing.
You got nothing. And, you know, I don't think the public knows that. I don't think they knowingly say, well, I don't want to give the songwriter money. I think they're not unaware of the deal. It wasn't a deal. It was kind of shoved down songwriters' throats. You know, it dates back to some very old, like 1930s deal, at least in the U.S., that they made, that the streaming services have sort of taken advantage of, and the songwriters haven't been able to change that. I mean, I think there was a little bit of a movement in Congress here in the U.S. that got a little more money, but it's still.
Yeah, next to nothing. We need to see that change. So that's one thing we're calling out for. Meanwhile, as you are releasing things yourself and you're the performer on them, fingers crossed we can see at least something to give you a lifestyle and sustain you rather. So the music that's out there at the moment. So we've got the album, which is you singing songs that you have shared with others, with the covers on there as well, which is where we find the single at the moment. Then soon to come is the new music. So give us the full listing of everything that you've got going on and where we find each of them and where we buy it so you get the funds.
Okay. Well, you can go to OMAD Records, OMAD Records.com. And that's the record label that has it has my song, has my songs, my albums, has the albums, the artists that I work with on the same label. And so looking forward, and of course you can get everything on the aforementioned Spotify's and Apple Music and iTunes. iTunes, if you download it, actually there's some money to be made. But and I'm working with another artist coming up in the next month. He was in a band called The Size, who had some hits here on the. They actually did pretty well in Europe too, particularly France. And one of the members of that band, I just did one of their records last year, and now he's one of the members is doing his own record. So that's next for the Barn Studio up here in upstate New York. And I'm about to finish this. In fact, I was just mixing one of the songs, and it's going to be a similar 9 original songs, although, as I said, written for this for now during lockdown. And then there's 2 covers. The 2 covers are sort of interesting. For some reason I like to do a couple of covers. I'm doing Jeff Beck version of Morning Dew from the record Truth, which is a big thing to chew and bite off of, but I'm loving it. I love that song. That first Jeff Beck record, at least in the States, I imagine there too, was very influential to a lot of musicians here. And the other cover is another ridiculous thing for me to do. Can't Find My Way Home, Blind Faith. You know, I'm doing a version of that, and actually that's already out in Spotify. But it's going to be on this record. But yeah, Traffic and Steve Winwood, you know, my heroes, you know. So
you keep doing what you're doing. You keep writing Oscar-winning songs. There will be more to come, I am sure. plenty more from your pen, or probably word processor, which does music these days. And we will take a listen to People Make the World Go Round. John, thank you for joining us. And we're very much looking forward to hearing more of your work and buying it in the correct way. Let's say a physical CD, because that's by far the best way of doing it, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
John DeNicola, thanks again.
All right. Thank you so much.
Trashman didn't get my trash today. Oh, why? Because they won't pay. Buses on strike on a raising fare, so they can help pollute the air. But that's what makes the world go round, the ups and downs of carousel, changing people's heads around. Go underground, young man. People make the world go round. Wall Street losing dough on every share. They're blaming it on the hair. Big men smoking in their easy chair, on a fat cigar without a care. But that's what makes the world go round, the ups and downs of carousel, changing people's heads around. Go underground, young man. People make the world go round. But that's what makes the world go round, the ups and downs of carousel, changing people's heads around. Go underground, young man. People make the world go round. 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 People make the
The chair yoga sessions from Wild Wolf Movement have returned for LGBT plus Sparkle and run through to the 22nd of April, thanks to some brand new funding. To tell us more, I'm joined now by Sparkle's Paul Ryder and Marie from the wonderful Wild Wolf Movement. Hello to you both.
Hello, Jason.
So first of all, Paul, let's do some LGBT plus Sparkle housekeeping first, because Felicia, your unicorn, seems to have had a baby.
Yeah. She has.
Yeah, for those of you who are listening to the sound only on this, you won't have a clue what we're on about. But Felicia is a stuffed unicorn that is as big as Paul Ryder, that normally joins him for our chats. You can see the video on our Facebook page if you haven't seen it already. And there's now a baby. Now, the baby has a name.
Betty Sparkle.
Betty Sparkle. That's nice, isn't it? Back to the serious stuff and the yoga. Marie, tell us more about the current sessions.
The current sessions, which are being funded by Wolverhampton Social Prescribing, are chair-based sessions. They're every Thursday from 1 o'clock until 1:45 p.m. and anyone is welcome to join. Social prescribing is a means of trying to encourage people to be healthy and active in the city, but without a medical approach, and you can be referred by your GP, or you could just approach me or Wolverhampton Social Prescribing if you'd like to join the sessions. So you have to kind of have an invite in some ways, but it's something that you can get involved with. It's without cost to you at the point of use, and it gives you a chance to really explore something new and maybe improve your health without putting too much effort in. Because some people think, oh, I really can't be doing with that. But through the chair yoga, you actually can get some really good benefits really quickly. Exactly. It's wonderful for helping to reduce stress and with pain management, helps to build strength, flexibility, and also really give your mood a boost. Lots of people are kind of put off by yoga at the thought of, you have to have special equipment or wear something fancy, etc. That's really not the case, and you can do it from the comfort of your own chair. There's also a really nice kind of community aspect to it, with the same people coming weekly and having a little catch up, and it's a really nice kind of thing to do at the moment. And Paul, how does this link in with your LGBT plus Sparkle meetings each Thursday?
It links in with Marie Burrows really well, because there's LGBT community that can attend from obviously our group and other organisations that might have people they support as well. So it's open to everybody really. But so you just have to get in touch. So Marie, how do we do that? You can get in touch with me via wildwolfmovement@gmail.com. And I can send you the health questionnaire and the link to the sessions. And as Paul mentioned, it's completely free, and the session is very welcoming of people from all different backgrounds. We originally started the sessions with the Sparkle group, and it was born from that these sessions have continued. So yeah, really welcoming space for anyone who is interested. And what sort of success stories have you had so far? Because it builds confidence as much as anything else, doesn't it? Oh, definitely. The feedback we've had has been really, really wonderful, with people saying that without the chair yoga sessions, they wouldn't have been doing any kind of other physical activity. Lots of people kind of saying, oh, I didn't think I was the kind of person who could do yoga, but now I see that actually I can, and I found it hugely beneficial for managing my stress, anxiety, etc., which is really, really lovely to hear. And Paul and I both sat down at the moment. Are there any moves that you could try and talk us through at the moment to just sort of give a flavour for the sort of things you might do? Yeah, sure. So if you both want to come to sit comfortably with your feet on the floor, it's important to have your feet on the floor so you have a nice stable base to begin with. Mm-hmm. Keep the spine nice and upright so you can rest your hands onto your knees. Relax the shoulders down away from the ears. Good. And just allow the breath to be natural and comfortable. So good, nice and tall through the spine. Let's just do super gentle. I don't have the camera angle right, but let's just do super gentle. As you inhale, start to raise your arms up and open, finding length through the waist, taking your gaze up towards your hands. Good. Take the palms to touch. And as you exhale, bend the elbows, start to draw the hands to heart center. Nice. Release the hands down by the side. So you inhale, reaching up and out through the arms, gathering energy, looking up towards your fingertips. So you exhale, bringing the hands down to heart center. Good. Leave the hands here, bring the elbows up. Want to feel a gentle stretch in the wrists. Good. So if you can get the heels of your palms together, yes, fabulous. And then start to move your hands forward. Yes. And then up, backwards. Feel a nice stretch in the wrists, up and forward. Good. Up and back. Nice. And then taking the hands upright, release the hands down to the knees. That is a super simple shoulder opening, wrist opening sequence, and that's just a very small kind of snippet of the kind of things you could expect from a session.
So, well, and that really, with the back thing, I'm normally slouched forward whenever I'm having a chat. I'm terrible for it. And it's that sort of thing that we often do when we sat in a chair, that you're going to kind of reverse. And when you're then sitting down, actually, you're more likely to think, hang on, I did that in class and it was so much better when I sat up properly. And you can just start doing this, change your posture, and you'll start to feel better generally.
Yeah, definitely with the posture and also breathing. A lot of us kind of breathe in quite a shallow way, chest breathing, like accessory breathing, whereas if we can take fuller, deeper breaths, we can feel calmer, and we start to learn different tricks. Like if we make the exhalation longer than the inhalation, that helps us to tap into our parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest, which can bring us back to a state of calm if we're feeling anxious or overwhelmed at work or for whatever reason throughout the day.
So certainly chair yoga is going to help. You do full classes as well, though, and people can actually find those and join in with those on various different price levels depending on what they're looking for.
Yes, that's completely right. I do online group classes, mat-based sessions. I also offer one-to-ones. I'm starting a park yoga session soon as the weather improves and the restrictions start to ease. And I'm also doing workplace wellness programs where I offer a combination of meditation, breathing techniques, desk yoga for different businesses. So lots going on. So
give us all the details again on how we get in touch, not only with you about the sessions that you're doing with Sparkle and this service, which means it's free of charge for point of use for the chair yoga, but also how we can get in touch on the other classes that you offer.
You can find me on my website, www.wildwolfmovement.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Wild Wolf Movement or Facebook /The Wild Wolf Movement.
And get the details that way. Now, Paul, all this ties in with your regular Thursday meetups for LGBT plus Sparkle, and I know that you've got many talks and conversations being had over the coming weeks. What have we got coming up this week?
This week, we haven't got a speaker, but we thought we'd engage very well with the community this week around mental health, and obviously ask people how people have been coping to get feedback, so we can obviously feed that through to other organisations, so we can probably improve on services across Black Country and Wolverhampton.
So the meetings take place each Thursday at 2 till 3:30, and because that'll be just after your yoga session, Paul, so you'll no doubt be wearing your chair yoga outfit, which is probably lycra.
Yeah, probably.
So he'll be fine for that. Where do we go for more information?
You can find us on Facebook. It's LGBT plus Sparkle Wolverhampton. If you want any more information to contact us, we've got an email address, lgbtqsparkle@gmail.com.
So get in touch, become part of the group and join the conversation. And the chair yoga, as I say, something is running alongside and in addition to it, off the back of the work that you were doing with funding earlier on in the year. Well, Marie and Paul, thank you both for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Well, that's all for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. Back with episode 615 next week. I'll see you then. Ta-ra for now.
Goodbye from the milk bar. 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 Yeah. Goodbye from the milk bar.